hard at the agency for a long time.
Speaking of those men and women, Mr. Administrator, there was a memo from the head of the the OMB, Russ Vought, calling for a 65% reduction in the workforce at EPA. How can it do the things you just described with 65% fewer people?
Because if anybody's ever worked for the government,
Well, the 65% number
anyone,
that
if anyone has anyone ever known anyone that's worked for the government or government agency or city agency or state agency or federal agency, any agency you want, right? What's that agency's number one job? To not have a surplus at the end of the year. It's to spend the money. Spend all the money, because if you don't spend it, you lose it, right? If you have $1 million budget and you spend $900,000, they say, guess what? You only need $900,000 next year. So, of course, the EPA is going to be absolutely bloated beyond belief with personnel, with projects, or whatever. You could probably reduce these federal agencies in half, and nobody would notice anything. Nobody would notice a damn thing. I know people would say, oh, waterways, stuff like that. Okay, listen, I'm not saying that there isn't a role in the government for, and again, it's not management, right? The issue is, I personally believe, I don't think there should be an EPA. If you want to ask me personally, I think there could be some, maybe scaled down agency or part of another agency, whatever it be. It could be part of the military or whatever. It doesn't have to be another agency, because the job of an agency, it becomes it's like a living entity. It's to grow and to thrive and to get bigger and to consume more. I think that obviously there are rules and regulations and laws that regular law enforcement personnel can handle when it comes to polluting the waterways, polluting the airways, regulating whether it's noise pollution, whether it's actual air pollution, burning stuff. Like there's rules in place for many of these things already. The EPA is an agency that tries to that writes a lot of these regulations. It also goes out there and attempts to get companies and stuff like that to agree. Well, I mean, not to agree, but to conform to these things. And I don't think it's personally necessary. I don't know. Let's see what his answer is on the 65% work reduction.
We've been speaking about consistently is that in 2024, the amount of money that was obligated and spent at EPA was over $60 billion. And when I came into this position in January, I had pledged that from year to year, from 2024 to 2025, that number would be down over 65%. It is important for us to be good stewards of tax dollars. We have found real
$60 billion. That is insanity. And you know what? Let's okay, so 10 billion of that 60 goes to staff. Provides approximately 60 billion in supplemental funding to the EPA over the past 5 years. Payroll alone. So payroll alone was 12 billion. So now this gets spent to drinking water, wastewater, lead pipe, addressing emerging contaminants like PFAS, protecting critical water bodies and aqua ecosystems. Okay, so it's to my understanding now, after doing a little bit of digging, right? So the EPA, it looks like that 60 billion, about 10 to 12 is on staffing. You have $12 billion on staffing, of which there was about 17,000 EPA personnel. Trump administration with Lee Zeldin slashed it to 12. So it's a pretty good cut, about a 25% work cut through attrition and letting people go or whatever. So yeah, that's a lot of freaking money. And apparently what they do is the majority of the spending includes drinking water and wastewater infrastructure upgrades, lead pipe replacement, addressing emerging contaminants, protecting critical water bodies, cleaning up Superfund and brownfield sites, waste management and recycling improvements, school bus decarbonization project, okay, pollution prevention initiatives, and support for tribal and state implementation partners. Okay. All right. So to date, over 11 billion has been awarded, 7 billion for drinking water projects, and 3.4 billion for clean water project. All right. So I'm not really sure if we take all this into account, how important this all is. And I know that sounds kind of harsh or retarded, but so yeah. So somebody shouldn't throw toxic sludge into the ground. Fine. That's illegal. Case closed. Why do we need an agency to add more to this? What those people are doing is illegal, right? You can't throw toxic sludge into the ground. How is the EPA going to prevent that? I don't know. You know? Does anybody know? If I go to my backyard right now and I pour oil in the ground, how is the EPA going to prevent that? Nobody knows, right? So again, these things get very bloated. I'm not saying that some level is not necessary. However, just like with everything else, it grows and grows and grows. It's a cancer. It metastasizes, and it envelops the entire entity, and you're left with a bag of shit at the end of the day. You're left with something that the EPA should probably be cleaning up, but they don't.
Real estate consolidations, money be saved with regards to.
And again, I'm a big fan of Lee. I like him. He was from New York, good guy. He's very good at interviews. But the agency is, for the most part, you could probably cut it down 90% and still accomplish what needs to get done. And yeah, I mean they're doing a good job. They're chugging along.
Grants with media subscriptions, and the list goes on, where billions of dollars have been saved. And it's also important for me, whether it is today, it's next month, next year, whenever appearing before Congress, the media, the American public, that I'm able to answer for all of the money spent at EPA and about us implementing and executing what is a 0%, a zero tolerance policy towards any waste and abuse. I want to make sure that the agency is operating as efficiently as possible, and that is why I have often spoken about 65%. And as I have and continue to, what we have been focused on is that year-over-year savings, which we will continue to pursue savings wherever we can. If someone comes to it and they have an idea and they want to save $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million or $1 billion, there's no number that's too large or too small to have that conversation and to pursue that efficiency. I believe that we owe that to the taxpayer.
But here's the problem, right? With every government program, agency, department, whatever it is, no one ever says, yeah, I don't want that money anymore. Like, who says that, right? Because the person that is getting the money, the person that there is no person that's giving the money. And that's the issue, right? If this was funded by someone with a face, right? It's the taxpayer. So it's a faceless entity. It's just the masses. It's a glob of money that just goes into this entity. And there's no individual person that's saying that. It's almost like this, all of this spending should be tied to like an individual, right? Like, all right, yeah, my name's John. Okay, I'm the all of my tax money goes to the EPA, and then I can see where that goes, and I'm like, yeah, what are you guys doing with that? But because it's a blob, but because like 3 cents of my income goes to that, it's like, well, it's all right, it's 3 cents. Well, yeah, but it's 3 cents from everybody, but nobody cares because it's spread so thin. Right. And that's the rub. That's where that's the issue, because it's not that nobody cares. It's that in the grand scheme of things, right? If that agency is getting 60 billion and there's not going to be a single person up until now that says we don't want more money. Right. That's what's happening now. It's pretty amazing. I really hope it stays on the right track.
How many scientists have been fired or have left the EPA since January? Do you know?
So at the beginning of January, when we came in, the number for the agency total, by the way, this isn't just scientists, this is all agency employees of all different types of occupations. The agency was just over 16,000. We are going through reorganizations of all of our program offices. We are going to end up, we're predicting around 12,500. When I first came in, people were asking me, what is the right number? What is the right-sized number of the agency? And as I was explaining then, it was too early to be able to tell them exactly what that number is. But what was clear when I told everybody was that we don't want to have one less or one more than what we need to be able to do our job, to fulfill all of our statutory obligations, to be able to fulfill our core mission and power the great American comeback.
Great answer. Great answer. Right? He's sharp. He's a sharp politician. He's going to get better with time, obviously, because now he's in the national spotlight. He was a New York guy. He was very good. He ran for governor. Did a good job. But this is what we need.
And what we then did was go into a reorganization involving political and career appointees providing ideas on ways to make each of the offices operate better as we look to the future. But as far as terminations go, the number is in the hundreds. We have also offered fork in the road where people would leave the agency, but they would continue to get paid until September, and then it became November for the later rounds, voluntary early retirement, as we work to right-size the agency, but ensuring that every decision that we make as part of this reorganization ensures that we fulfill all of our statutory obligations. That's very important. And by the way, what we also found when we came in was that a bunch of our different statutory obligations were being neglected in order to focus on other tasks that were not statutory obligations. So our pesticide review backlog was 14,000, new chemical backlog 500, state implementation plan backlog, small refinery exemption backlog, and the list goes on. So fortunately now, for example, the pesticide review backlog is under 10,000. Over the course of all of these different categories that we provided you, like for example, the state implementation plans, where we are working with states trying to advance cooperative federalism and get these state implementation plans approved, we are trying to reduce these backlogs because that gets to the core statutory obligations where Congress said that they want us to fulfill particular tasks that we weren't getting done.
Speaking of statutory language, which you've just indicated to my audience you're very sensitive to, you announced recently the shuttering of your research division, known as the Office of Research and Development. The Senate Appropriations Committee, which includes, among other members, Senator Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, who championed your nomination, and the committee itself voted 26-2 on a spending bill for you to stop this, saying, quote, it was appalled by closing the office and that doing so would further the loss of expert scientists. Are you going to comply with that statutory suggestion?
Well, a couple things. First off, the vote wasn't specifically, on just the line that you just shared. It was an appropriations bill.
It's a big bill,
with
I
regards
agree,
to multiple agencies and appropriations and. Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm just saying there wasn't a vote just on this line and this language. So that's an important point in context. The other thing that I would add is this: as part of our reorganization, we have been advancing and ramping up the scientific work inside of all different kinds of offices. For example, when I just spoke to you about the pesticide review and the new chemicals review.
Do you know what these guys are doing? Think about this, right? You're a scientist for the EPA. What are you doing? What's going on here? You're reviewing pesticides and you're doing this guy and these people that are upset about the layoffs, the attrition, letting people go, early retirement, stuff like that. Do they think that these 17,000 people are getting up every day and just ripping to go and just get out there and they just start hustling? Like they're trying to start a business or something like that. Like they don't think anybody is like scamming. They don't think anyone's taking advantage of the system. They don't think anyone is like dead weight. They don't think anyone just wakes up in the morning and is just phoning it in. They don't think anyone's doing that. No, nobody. So he's appalled. Like the research and development side of the EPA. Like I said in the beginning, this shouldn't even be an agency, right? Like we can figure this out another way. But it is what it is. This is what we got. Scaling it back, fantastic. Everything needs to be scaled back. Everything. We're talking about several million employees in the federal government system. It's a travesty. Like once you take a look at, even if they're paid, the poverty rate, it's billions and billions of dollars. It's insane. It's insanity. And a lot of them are not paid the poverty rate. A lot of them are making six figures, right? When you're talking about government employees, you have 2.3, 2.4 million employees. It's gone down because of Doge, but at its height, it was approaching 2.5 million civilian employees for the federal government that are ostensibly making, anywhere from $80,000+ a year. And you don't think any of those people are just phoning it in, right? A lot of them were still working from home 5-6 years later after COVID. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we have to sit here and you look at your paycheck and you see what's coming out. You see what's coming out. I mean, the amount of money that comes out of my paycheck for federal taxes can pay my mortgage. My mortgage payment goes to the federal government every single month. It's sickening. I'm sorry, every paycheck. It's absolutely sickening. And to think that we don't want accountability and we don't want to scale this back and we don't want it to be a lean, mean machine, which it never will be, but we can get it close. Guys, if you're still here, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. It does nothing. You have to. It doesn't cost you anything. You just click the little subscription button at the bottom. If you hit the notification bell, you'll get notified when I do new videos. Let's see what. Let's Zeldin finish this out right here.
We have been adding scientists into the chemicals office. I was just talking about advancing cooperative federalism. We're adding an office of state air partnerships inside the Office of Air and Radiation. We're creating a new Office of Applied Sciences and Environmental Solutions, and a whole bunch of different program offices. I just referenced some, the Office of Water, the Office of Land and Emergency Management. We have a whole bunch of offices where ranks are filled up with amazing scientists, and that's all on top of the new ramp up, the new increase, as well as the additional office, the new Office of Applied Science and Environmental Solutions. So the scientific research work that we do at the agency is important, especially where Congress has required us through statute to fulfill scientific work. And it's something that we will continue to do going into the future. And any new scientific or research work where Congress passes a new law and puts a new requirement on the EPA, we will proudly do so.
Let's talk about endangerment finding. It was a big announcement this week to remove it. You've argued that you can grow the economy and protect the environment, but some of EPA's own regulatory analysis, which cites Energy Department data, suggests very strongly that that will increase the cost and demand for gasoline for American consumers by quite a bit. How do those two things add up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not going to go along, and the president won't, and most of the American public with the EV mandates that have come up. That's the assumption that's relied on when those statements are being made, is that we're just going to make Americans switch from gas-powered vehicles to electric vehicles. It's been met with a lot of resistance, even in states like California. We're not just seeing EV mandates at the state level, but it was also done during the last administration. With regards to the amount of regulations that followed the 2009 endangerment finding, which was a finding specifically related to mobile sources, but to follow, we ended up seeing trillions of dollars worth of regulations on mobile sources, on stationary sources, and then that led to the electric vehicle mandate and more. And that's the trajectory that we've been on, where regulations, in some respects, were seeking to strangulate out of existence entire sectors of our economy, and specifically our energy economy. And that is part of the mess that we inherited, that the American public spoke loudly and clearly about as they were talking about their own economic concerns for this country, their desire to be able to afford to heat their home, their desire to be able to both heat their home while also getting the prescription drugs they need and filling up their fridge with the groceries that they need. It's important that we are applying common sense, that we are cognizant of these economic demands, and that wherever possible, when we can protect the environment and grow the economy, that we will choose both.
And how do you...
2 points. One, he'll never have the juice for a presidential nomination. That's just something that it kind of just hit me now. Just his look, like he's good, but he doesn't have the it. But that doesn't say it can't happen. When it comes to EV mandate, like at this point, I think the majority of people already understand that whole electric vehicle thing saving the environment is absolute bullshit, right? And if you don't, it's a very simple premise. If you have an electric vehicle, are plugging your vehicle in to a power source, whether it be a rapid charger, whether it be your home, whether it be wherever. That electricity is coming from somewhere. Not coming from the wall, like a lot of people think. Not coming from the power line, like a lot of people think. There are multi-layered, right? There's a transformer, and on and on. And then it gets to the power plant, which the majority of power plants are, drum roll, guess what? Coal. Right, coal. You're burning coal to move around your electric vehicle. So, I mean, and then, we can get into the batteries and the mining that it takes, They are not environmentally friendly vehicles. They're not. Not even close. It may make people feel good. It gives me douche chills when I see people driving around, and I can smell what they think they're doing something, right? Not doing anything. Now, that doesn't mean it's not cool. It goes really fast. It's a lot of fun to drive, and it's pretty great. It should be an option on the table, 100%. But if the excuse is it's doing something for the environment, that's just total horseshit. It's not doing anything for the environment. If anything, it's probably doing worse for the environment than the actual gas-powered vehicles, right? Because those vehicles, They're not using these massive batteries that are just going to be dumped back into the environment afterwards. The mining for the minerals for the batteries, and then the strain on the grid, and also the amount of coal that has to be burned to power these things. So listen, they're really cool vehicles. I like them. We have one here. They're fun. They're a lot of fun and they're cool. I don't have anything against EVs. You just have to be realistic. They're not helping the environment. With that said, thanks a lot, guys, for joining me. Please hit me up. Subscribe if you can. Really helps me out a lot. Hit me up on the X, 6283talk. You can find me there. I post things regularly, and we'll see you again on the next video. Thanks a lot, guys. Later.